All right, it is 1 o'clock Eastern, time to get started. Hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A. I'm Dave McCormick, the VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I'm pleased to introduce or present Dean McCormick, no relation, our lead solutions engineer. Today, Dean is going to be taking you on the new Alpha Style template, which is available now in the pre-release and will soon be in the shipping version later this month. Also, I want to let you know two things before we get started. A copy of a recording of today's session and previous sessions can be found at videos.alphasoftware.com. And secondly, and even more importantly, today's and all of our Q&A sessions are based on questions and answers. So please go ahead, type your questions into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. The questions help us have a lively discussion and help us keep going. So, we will begin. Dean, let me first take you off mute so you can talk to us. Hello, Dean, are you there?
I have to talk to you now? Is that,
you don't have to. No, I guess
it's not a request, it's a demand? Geez, tough.
Let me go ahead and make you the presenter. You should see a dialog box.
And I do, and let me go ahead and show my screen.
And there you are. Great.
Let's get going. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. We enjoy having you as our company today on this webinar. We're going to be continuing our discussion of style information. Our new and improved release will be out soon, and one of the key aspects that have been integrated with it is the new style builder and also, more importantly, a new default style. And along with that is some more sample content that will allow you to get up to speed and use some of the new capabilities very, very quickly. With that, I'm Dean McCormick, Lead Solutions Engineer for Alpha Anywhere, and I wanted to welcome you and thank you, Dave. First and foremost, our goal is to answer your questions. Actually, the presentation that you're seeing today came in as a request. People want to know more information regarding that, and one of our developers asked us, and so we included it in our weekly webinar. So, as always, go to your GoToWebinar control panel, look at the questions area, and go ahead and enter your questions there. Along with that, feel free to email us during the week at guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com, and that is monitored by Dave, and we've actually got a couple things that have been submitted. We're putting into our list of things to cover in the next few weeks, and we always appreciate that. So either go into your questions area of GoToWebinar control panel, or feel free to email us. With that, a couple announcements. Again, we have coming up, targeted for later this month, the latest release, which will have a whole host of new capabilities in there. Some of the new features like the control bar and the styling, and just a really broad set of elements. And we'll be talking more about that as that release gets near, and also as it happens, we'll go through the complete detailed list of the new capabilities that are in the system that you'll be able to take advantage of. And so today what I want to do is kind of dig in and continue our discussion from last week where we talked about the new style builder. So let me go ahead and run down here to our section here. I say my slides are getting longer and longer as we continue to cover all these great capabilities here. So, so we went last week, real quick, we covered our new style builder that's been new and improved, and I'll show it to you again today. It uses a new CSS technology called Sass. The Sass technology allows you to quickly modify styles to change their color scheme or the branding scheme, however you'd like to do that. And it's very, very straightforward and easy to do. And in last week's, and if you haven't seen it, you can go to our video library, and we have this webinar online from last week where I actually walk you through launching the style builder, making adjustments, and seeing how those pieces go from there. I'd like to remind you is that there's version 2.0 styles which were released, I think in V11, I'm not sure, maybe even V10. Things like GR Blue, GR Gray, Mobe, those are all kind of version 2. Those will not work with the new style builder. They're really oriented around the version 3.0 styles, which is iOS 7, Android, and our new Alpha style, which I'll be focusing on today. So just make sure there's no confusion that there are a couple different versions there. The beauty of it is that you can access the style builder in multiple ways within the system and easily change color schemes, etc., that you would like to do it. And we like to think of SAS as CSS with superpowers, and it's very widely adopted. And if you're engaged with CSS designers, they're going to feel very confident with this technology and be able to do that. So, and if you want to learn more about SAS, you can go to sass-lang.com, and there's a whole bunch of demos and prototypes and other pieces along those lines there. So what I'd like to focus on today is our new default style, a style that looks good on both iOS and the Android platform. It's named Alpha, and it's fully SAS compliant, so I'll show you how you can quickly change it to your needs. It's really optimized for the mobile world, and you'll see more and more in our demonstrations and our presentations and other pieces that we're using that for all of our pieces there, and it's really, really sharp. And so what I want to do is just take a little time today to show you it, show you some of the elements of it, and also show you how you can readily modify the style using the new style builder technology. So I'm going to jump into that, but before I do so, Dave, just want to do a process check, make sure I'm coming through loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So I've jumped back over to my development environment, and I'm in the Alpha development environment. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is, especially for folks who are new, I'm going to create a new UX, and I'm going to, in that process, use a template to show you, so that we have something on the screen versus having to build it from scratch. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to my Web Projects control panel. You can see it's highlighted down in the tab down below. I'm going to click New, and that's going to bring up my selector. In this case, I'm going to select Web Component, click Next, and I have a wide range, but in this case, I'm going to select a UX component, which is our standard form component that's used, and the basis for mobile. Now, we have a whole set of nicely done, pre-made templates that are available for the UX component. And in fact, there's a new one that's been added, which, and again, this is a pre-release, so if you do not see exactly what you see in mine, it's possible that you don't have the latest pre-release. But there's a new PhoneGap kind of one that's really nice. Where is that? Where did I put that? I just saw it there. There we go. There we go. Called Mobile App Framework _sample _disconnected _app _using _control bars. And this is a neat one for two reasons. One is that it's kind of the latest and greatest, so it's a good template for your mobile apps, kind of uses all there. And most importantly also, it includes the new control bar technology, which is in pre-release, which I'm just getting rave reviews from people who have used it. It really makes life a lot simpler, and I've seen some recent demos where it's just phenomenal. And we're going to do a whole series on the control bar concept, since it's going to be very, very important from here. So this will not actually run because it needs a connection string going to the Northwind database. But for today, I just kind of want to show you more the style than the actual operation of the entity itself. So I'm selecting Mobile App Framework Sample Disconnected App using control bars. And I think we're going to have to make this large. If they add any more words with underbars, we're going to have to make this larger. So we'll see there. There's a little help that talks a little bit about what the UX does. And mine's a little bit slower just because I'm running on our webinar platforms day, so bear with me. Okay. And we have created, here is our new UX already pre-created there. So you can see in here we have our fabulous new control bar. We have control groups that are handy. And again, we'll go in more of these details in the future. And we have also a control bar here. So this is a great example. And if you want to learn more about control bars and the other pieces, this is a great starting point because it's already been pre-created and you can do and dive into that there. But I'm going to go ahead and save this. That's webinar _UX. And I'm going to go down here to the we were at our controls here, and I was outlining the different defaulted controls that come in with this template. But I noted that if we go to the properties area here, the default style name is called Alpha. And if you open the style name, you will see that we have our traditional or earlier versions of that, plus our newest iOS and iOS 7. But Alpha is now included and available throughout your pieces there. And if you want to kind of see ahead of it, you can actually over here look and see what it's going to look like for a grid, for a dialog, which is a UX component, some previews right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. We're going to come back and show you how you can quickly modify the Alpha style. So I've saved that as my UX, and I'm going to go ahead and do a working preview here so we can show you what the style looks like. And this will go in a moment. Again, it's running a little slow there. Okay, so we do have a warning here, but that's, don't worry about that. That's just because I didn't set up my connection string. But I wanted to show you that we have our new style enabled. And this is our new control bar concept. So a couple things right off the bat is you'll notice that you have nice, as I drag over these items, you see they're being highlighted very nicely. By the way, we have these new icons, and these are actually being rendered in SVG. That's an important thing to realize about our new style builder is that instead of using Font Awesome icons, which are great and continue to feel free to use those, but we're now starting to focus on using the SVG icons because they're much more portable, lighter, easier to manipulate than the other pieces here. So you're actually seeing these here. And if I go ahead and select here, you're going to see that this is the new control bar where it popped open a menu, and we have our menu item here. So you can see we have kind of a nice white with a black background, and as I hover over these items, they're changing colors to like a light blue. And you can see we're using the SVG icons. There's a synchronize icon of a cloud with a little synchronized kind of image. We've got a search and a kind of a refresh item there. And even in here, you'll notice that I clicked on this little search, and it brought down here, and you'll notice now we have these buttons that are nice and bold. And this is really optimized for the mobile platform. I want to be very clear on that. So you're going to see that the buttons are big, they're bright, they're easy when you have them over there or click on them. They're very solid. So when you're developing a mobile application, this is a great starting point to do so. And you can see we have the plus points there. So, great. A lot of research and a lot of work went into making this style, and we want to thank the team for doing it. And this now can become a really good basis for all of your mobile designs there. Now, obviously, these are the defaulted colors that are in there. But let's say I'm not really excited about the blue, or just something that isn't exciting for me. So we can kind of go back to what we did last week, and what I'm going to do is go back into the design environment, and then I have my style here, Alpha. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that to open the style selector up. And what I want to be able to do is, you'll notice I've selected Alpha here, but you'll notice our new edit style, which I talked about last week. So I'm going to actually click on edit style. This is going to open up a dialog box. And this dialog box is basically saying, hey, that's a system style. I'm not going to let you edit the system one, but you can create either a local or a global one. And it explains what those are. But I'm going to create a local one that is going to be unique. It's a copy of the Alpha style, but it's going to be unique and only for this project. And I'll go ahead and call it Alpha Webinar. So I'm giving it a unique name. So when I copy it, it's going to copy it into my local project, and therefore I can kind of edit to my heart's desire, but not screw up the original Alpha style there. So you'll see once I've done that, it's made the copy, and in a moment it's going to launch our new style builder. So we're in our style builder here, and we're in this mode where you can see here are the different elements, so I can kind of scroll down and visually see what it looks like. So let me go ahead and go down here. This is what a panel card looks like. Footers, header, panel navigator. So this is the default color scheme here. And what you see down here is actually the color of it. And showing right up top is our $sign designator, which is this is part of the SAS. But obviously I'm not a super expert on doing this stuff, so I'm going to click adjust over here. And now you'll notice that instead of seeing kind of this, I can go in here and say, you know what? That blue accent color, I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'd like that to be more, let's say we talked about last week, a burnt orange. And just going to make a quick example of that there. So once I've done that, it's done two things. One is that it's gone ahead and edited my style to change that accent color, and you can now start seeing that it's applying it right into my system here. So you'll see that like in a grid, it's kind of an orange color instead of a blue color. If I look at the highlighted text here, it's orange kind of things there. And if we go back into the code level, all this did was through this nice little visual editor, it changed my accent color to a different tag right there, which updates the rest of it there. So I'm not going to go into much more. Just want to do that as you just adjust it here. I'm going to go ahead and close this, or I'm going to save this. So I now have saved and updated my local style. I'm going to go ahead and close that now. And I'm back in here. You'll notice that I'm still pointing at alpha. So what I want to do is go into my style selector here and make sure that now I'm going to point to my local style called Alpha Webinar, which is the one I just updated, and click OK. And remember, I talked about last week where you can go into the web projects, set a project level style, and all of your items will do that. So now if we go into working preview, I'm not sure how much accent color's in this, so we'll see how it flows from here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it into my working preview. It's going to render my mobile interface now using the new accent color instead of the previous blue one. And let's go ahead and check it out and see what it looks like from there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go in here. Now it's still blue, so that must be a different color. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not seeing the ramifications here of my changes. It's possible that these are the different color schemes there. Let's just real quickly do something else here. So I'm going to open this up and edit that style. And notice it doesn't ask me this time, since it's a local, it knows that it's an exact local. So I can go in here and I'm going to wait till this opens all the way up. I'm going to go to the adjust panel here. Let's try this one here. Notice we've got kind of this light blue right here of an alternative accent. I'm going to go ahead and change that also to be kind of a burnt orange and click OK. Save that. And I'll go ahead and close now that I've saved that. And I'll go ahead and save all this and do a working preview. And hopefully this time we'll see a little bit more of a dramatic impact, so it'll be a more interesting demonstration than we had before. So is it rendering there? Yep, you'll notice first and foremost, notice when I went over this, it's now kind of a orange color. And as I go down here, we're now having the accent color to be orange. In fact, let's go ahead and see there. Yep, now you'll notice that my accent color is, instead of that blue, it's kind of a orangish color there. So you can see this is so easy to kind of change it. Like if the customer says, I hate blue, I really would rather have pink or blue or orange or green or whatever it happens to be, you now don't have to go in and edit a whole bunch of CSS to make that happen. You can change these accent colors and very quickly. And that applies for all different elements. You can change the fonts, you can change the colors, the sizing of things, everything else through the new one there. So this is just kind of bringing together what we talked about last week, which is the new style builder capabilities, along with our new alpha style, which is heavily optimized for the mobile environment, which also includes the neat SVG icon capability, so you can go in and tailor these to your heart's desire. And the cool thing actually with SVG, which is really exciting, is that it's very easy to edit colors of icons in SVG, and they're very small, so it really allows you to easily modify your interface to get exactly the look and feel you're looking at. So that's a quick introduction to that. Let me go back here. So we have our new style that's added called Alpha. It's fully SaaS compliant and it works with our new Alpha Web Style Builder, which allows you to modify the colors, the look, the feel very readily with that. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn that back to Dave and see if there's any questions on that particular or any other items from there. And hopefully I haven't lost you.
Yeah, no, it's still here. So the question is, all right, let me just go on. I don't see a question. Actually, for the person who asked the question about opening the UX in desktop mode for comparison, if you could clarify that question, that would be great before we go back into it. But no questions. A couple of people who said it looks pretty darn cool.
It's fairly simple. So, you know, it's not like rocket scientists. Well, we made it simple. Yes, sir.
Is there an SVG WYSIWYG editor, either in alpha or one that you recommend for using for
Ah,
editing
great
SVG
point.
tools?
Actually, that's a very good question, and thank you, sir, for asking that. So let me go ahead there. Of all things, there are some open source ones there. One actually is Google, I believe, has an SVG editor. But yes, there are ones. Um, let's go ahead and go in here. Let's go. And I think it's Google SVG editor. And it actually runs in your browser, which is kind of very cool, so you can actually edit things right in your browser. So it's called, there's one here called Boxy SVG. This is in the Chrome Web Store, and it's, and let me go ahead and go in there and, oh, actually, let me go back to their primary website. But this one's very well supported, and it's exactly what you're looking for, is a graphical way of doing it. And the cool thing, remember, SVG, we're going to use it twofold. One is for icons, but the other is with our new capability to use SVG, say, for instance, in the ViewBox control or the control form, or form view. We're going to be able to actually use it as interface elements where instead of just an icon, you could actually draw a picture of something and have it a live object in our user interface, which will allow you to create very cool editors. So this kind of gives you an idea. It's a very simple one, and this all works within your Chrome editor, so you don't have to download software there. And I'll go ahead and hit the screenshots. So you have a situation where you have your editor over here with all the different types, and then here, and then they also have a bunch of pre-made things that you can add right into it. And also I'd like to show, I think it's free, what is it, line icons? What's the one for, with all the collections of SVG icon collections? Let me find that real quick. Flat icon. The other is check out flaticon.com. I mean, this is staggering. I mean, if you're looking for an icon or an image, it's probably already on here, including brand images, and they have them by industry, so you can have them for like social media. You can also do stuff that's pretty interesting for like digital marketing. And these are all icons that you can use. And what's great about them is that once you download them, you can then modify the colors, the look and feel by just editing them, using a text editor. It's really straightforward there. So check out
Dan,
Boxy. Yes, sir.
So yeah, sure, there's this editor that we're showing, but you just mentioned just a second ago that you could open them in a text editor. And I know I've done that before to edit colors and things like that, but if you could just show a quick example of that. I think
Oh, sure. Well, let's go ahead and grab something here. Let's go ahead and let's look in this one.
Inside. Yep.
Yeah, sure. No. I appreciate it. And again, they have like a paid level, etc. So kind of scenario. So let me find a good one. You see, I see like notice this one doesn't have a little cross hatching in it. So my guess is certain ones are free and certain ones are paid. But let me go ahead and try. Where's our target? Is there a target? Let's say. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and look at that one right there. So that's kind of got a nice little rocket thing here. Okay, so as you can see, I can download this as PNG, SVG, EPS, or PSD. I'm going to go ahead and click SVG, and there we go. And I'll do the free download for now. And then it should be, there we go. Notice it's downloading the Rocket SVG. So now I'm going to open Show in Folder. So it's downloaded this SVG file here. And I'm going to go ahead and open this bad boy. There we are, Rocket there. I'm going to open it using my Notepad. I think I have Notepad on here, so bear with me. Or you can use Notepad, whichever one you want. So let me open up, go to my downloads. Is it downloads? Where is it? This PC, sorry. Actually, let me go ahead and go back here.
Love live demos. This always happens.
There we go. That's an easy way to do it. So
Oh,
as you can see, this is the SVG file. So that rocket that we saw before, this right here, is this text right here. And so you can kind of see, and I'll move this down here, that this one's a little more complicated because you have the different colors, but you can see there's a path style fill, and this is the color scheme right here. So this, it's a vector drawing language, so it's actually literally creating vectors, like this is one here, this is here. So this is a little bit more complicated one, but you can just go in and change this and then do it in a viewer, and you'll be able to see your changes there. So, and they're not very big files. I mean, this one's a little bit more complicated, you can see, because we probably have, let's see, let me count, probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different kind of elements to this. And so you can go through, and you'll probably see also, if we look at this, go down a little bit farther, you can start seeing that there's repeated colors here. But again, the idea is that this is just a text file. This information gets transported into Alpha, and you can copy this into the SVG. Instead, let me go ahead and copy this real quick. I can go back into Alpha. And Dave, you may need to help me on here to put this one in here. I think we go to Properties, and then in Properties, SVG. There's SVG linked files where you can link an SVG file or local SVG. So I can go right in here and paste that in. And we actually, I'm just going to kind of explain it. What you really want to do is use the import SVG definition. And there's actually a webinar we did on this methodology here that basically copies that text file into the system and properly names it and sets it up from there. And there's actually documentation in here about understanding SVG icon colors and other things along those lines. And so what you want to do is once you've got this file, you can download it, and then, oh, let's go ahead and try that actually. Let's go ahead and import a SVG definition. And I'm going to paste that right there, and I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to call this Rocket and click OK. So you'll notice now that we have imported that information in and added our own pieces called Rocket. So now we have this SVG available within my system to be used. The alternative is to import the SVG definition or a folder of them where you can actually just keep the files on your hard drive, and when you import them, they name them properly and put them into the system. And again, there's a great webinar. Well, I guess it's great. I put it on, so I got to be careful there. So there is a informative webinar that actually walks you through this process on how to import SVG icons in it. But it is our kind of go-to methodology now. That's going to be great. And actually, now that I've got there, let's give that a try. I'm going to take this button right here, this search button right here, and I'm going to say it is a image. And let's go ahead. I'm just flying without their SVG icon. And then here are my built-in SVG icons. By the way, I didn't mention that, but Alpha now ships with a preset set of SVG icons in the new release. That's really handy there. And then I don't see my rocket in there. I guess, oh, there it is. And check out. There's my rocket. So actually, let me go ahead and show you this here. So,
you sounded surprised that that worked, actually.
yeah, I knew it was going to work.
It's a live demo. Yeah,
I just, I'm, it's like, holy crap, it worked the first time. I'm just not used to that. And if you're a programmer, you know what I'm talking about.
You know
So.
what he's talking about. Yeah.
So anyway, so these are the default ones that are built in, but now I can bring in all these other ones here and just go like that. And let's go ahead and do a working preview now. And dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Notice now I've got my nice little button. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
And it looks sharp. I'll tell you, that's one thing you're going to love about SVG icons is they are sharp. Two things. One is that you can get these great, well-designed ones out there that are available. You can create your own, as I mentioned, with that SVG box or any kind of editor. It's like using Adobe Illustrator. You can hire very good people out there on Fiverr or Upwork or places like that. Very talented graphics people who can actually go in and modify these things or create them yourself. But last but not least is that the actual browser is doing the rendering of this icon, meaning that it is text, and that text is transmitted to the mobile phone either through the web or when you install it on PhoneGap, and then the browser is actually rendering that SVG, and it's wicked fast. They really have it down to a science there. And these can be animated, and these other things are really cool from there. So as you can see, even though I did it somewhat disjointed, you can go out, find these icons, import them into your system, and now we'll treat them as native icons in the image browser if you select SVG. Now, one thing I also want to mention is that, let's say I want to use an existing one here. Like, let's say, I'm going to pick one there. Well, what's nice is I can actually, within our browser selector, I can change the fill color here to be something interesting. So I can actually change some of the basic colors if they're two-dimensional colors there. And let's go ahead and, so you'll notice here, and you'll notice that I've given it a fill color. And let me see, let me go back, and I don't think it took my fill color. Let's try a different fill color. Let's just do like a red color or something. It's not selecting the hex color. There we go. Okay, so let's say I want a pink metaphor there. So what I did is by selecting that fill color, it dynamically applies that color. Ooh, that's really not too good, is it? You know, there's not much contrast in that. But the idea behind it is that I can go ahead and make these adjustments, and I can say, you know what, I need this to be a little bit larger. And so when I do that, now when I actually add this in, it's going to have a different color. And let's go ahead and go into our work view. So we actually give you some of the handles to change those colors within it. You, of course, can take that SVG icon and manually change the color scheme to your heart's desire. So let's go ahead and look at what it looks like now. So it's hard to see, but it did the little up arrow there. So I guess I didn't pick a really good one there. But again, the idea is our SVG icon, and that's why we're moving to it, because we can give you a lot of, and you can see what it's doing. It's basically picking an icon and then giving it some directives in here. And this is just SVG language right there. And you're good to go from that standpoint there. And you can actually edit your own from there. So as you learn more about SVG, you'll see it's very flexible, very easy to use. To recap real quick, check out flaticon.com. They have all these wonderful icons that are out there. And they have, what's neat, some are free, some are paid. And what's really cool too is that they have icons that are holistic in nature, meaning that they're a collection. And so therefore, for instance, if you're doing a medical somehow, or let's see, let's go to the next page. There's probably some good ones on here. See, like a business strategy or communications. So you can pick something that's aligned with your application and be able to do that, or education. And they have these really nice ones that you can use for your apps. And last but not least is you can also, if you want to do, roll your own. And this is just a Google plugin that allows you to then literally, like Adobe Illustrator, change your pieces there. As you can see, you know, change the fonts, change everything else, create your own. Very cool and very fun. And what this produces is that text file. And once you have that text file, as you can see, it's easy to bring into Alpha and enhance it. And remember, it's not just for icons. You can actually draw whole screens using this technology and have Alpha render it. And once it's rendered, here's the last thing I want to explain, which is really, really powerful, is that if you create an SVG icon or a piece of art and install it, it can actually stretch, and so therefore it's going to look good on every type of device. So let's say you're using it as like a splash page. Let's use that as an idea. So you've created this splash page graphic using SVG. If you put it on a phone, SVG will dynamically size itself because it's vector in nature. So it won't pixelate, it won't look bad. So it'll stretch itself to fill that screen. So on a phone it'll look good, and then on a tablet it'll look great. So the SVG is really the way to go as we're moving more and more into this because of that ability to size nicely. And we found that like the CSS icons do size, but not really nicely, whereas SVG, it can go from 1 pixel dimensions down to 1,000,000, and it would look great at every level of it. So it's very flexible from that standpoint. So we kind of did a detour, but if you have more information, or if you like more information about how to bring SVG icons in. It's about 2 months, almost 3 months, I think, ago or so, that we did that webinar. And it's in our collection of webinars, and it goes through how to import, how to manage SVG, and use it within the Alpha system.
Mm-hmm. Great. If someone needs help looking for that particular one, send an email to guides, guides@alphasoftware.com. We'd be happy to find it for you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, so there are a couple dealing with SAS and CSS, but I want to jump to this other question because this was last week and we never got a chance to get to it, and it has to do with web security. They want to build a way of managing their users and groups using the role-based security system that's built into Alpha Anywhere. They want to do that online. And they want to do it maybe, in a list control or something like that, so that they can choose a particular user, click on them, and then update their settings, maybe add someone to a group or something like that.
Gotcha.
Where do they get started to do that?
Good question, and thank you very much. As we mentioned before, the web security framework is a very powerful and strong security environment. And when you're in development environment, you manage it at the web projects control panel under web security. And I don't actually have it enabled for this demo app, but this is where you actually set your criteria and information about using the web security, connecting it to your database, etc. And then within here you can manage users and groups, so you can actually create users and groups right within this area. But obviously that doesn't work well once you've published it to your production or validation server, wherein you have a situation where you need to manage it online. Well, the cool thing about that is Alpha has already created a preset set of templates that allow you to interact and edit that security data. And the way you find those is if you click New, and then Web Component, click Next, and then UX. So these are pre-made UX components. So you click UX. Now, once I've done that, here are my templates that are available. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to this area here at the bottom, and you'll see that we have a security framework items here. So you'll see we have change password for any user or the current user, create a new user account, actually create a new user account and add information into another table, which is often how that works, edit account for existing users. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit account for existing user. And this says yada yada, some instructions. Do read those, don't go as fast as I did there. So this is a standard UX, and I'm just going to run it and show you what it looks like. So you're going to see here we have a pre-made UX where you have the person's first name, last name, and phone. And then down here you have your security, which is their username, their password, and their roles. And notice right now, roles are empty. It's blank. The reality is in here now would be a dialog or a radio button selection or checkbox where you could then select what role you want for this person, and this would be automatically populated from the and actually I can probably show you a live one, but you can actually create a what you can do then is when I edit this person's security, I can change their password, but I can also change their roles, and this is all done at runtime, meaning that you don't have to be on the development system here. There are some steps you need to go through to wire this up correctly. And let's see, and that is in this, the instructions are in here. It doesn't show there, but these are the instructions here. It actually talks about how this exactly works and where you need to do it, and includes a link, which I'm going to go ahead and copy because I think it's very valuable for you to have this, that actually walks you through how to use this. Let's see there. And more importantly is we can go online and see, let me make sure this works here. Okay, bear with me. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to paste this into the chat window, and this will explain more for that individual. So the heartbeat of it, or the real core of it, is that we have these pre-made components that you have to adjust, you have to tweak a little bit, but then these components can be part of your delivered solution. So therefore you can click on a grid or on a list, launch this component, and then edit that person's information and users and roles and other things that are necessary for them. And again, include a lot of documentation. The link I just sent you there has the actual videos that you can watch that will show you how to enable and adjust and put these into action. But you can definitely manage the security framework from within your solution fairly readily without having to always have to edit it through the user interface or through the developer's interface, excuse me. Oops, did I lose everybody?
Oh, nope.
Okay, good.
If you did, it was only for 2 seconds, so yeah,
okay.
seems like everything came through.
It was either the internet connection went down or I had a stroke. One of the two. I'm going with number one for a good news.
Why not both, though?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, thanks very much. Let me see. There's another question along these lines.
Yes.
Okay. The question is, what's the best way to extract blob information from a SQL field and put the content into an like an XBasic variable?
Ah, that's very detailed.
I don't know if it's enough detail though. Reading through this question, what's the best way to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
if they could clarify that a little bit, that would be helpful.
Well,
okay.
My guess is they're trying to work with image information and try to move it in there. So I might need a little bit more information on how to manipulate it. You would use a standard XBasic to actually make a call to the database and pull back the information. And that information, you're going to be given what's called a result set. And in that result set, you're going to have the documentation. In fact, let me just go ahead and show you what that script looks like really quick. Let me go ahead and go here. Just to kind of give a pointer on where to look on that there. So let me go ahead and go to my control panel, go to code, create new script, and I use my code library. It's on my other, this is a test.
On machine. Oh,
yeah, I have my kind of other one there.
I know, usually pulling that thing out, it's like got 100 things in it.
Okay.
Right, if we get clarification, that would be great, because we do have a couple other questions we'd like to get to.
Okay. Okay, but check it out. My handy dandy Evernote backup here.
Fantastic.
Okay. So this is a standard alpha database script, meaning that this is kind of my template for pulling data from database. And basically, you have some connection information. You have your connection string, which is what's been predefined in the alpha DAO connection string. We do a connection open here, which will actually connect to the database. So this whole part here is, where's the database? Make a connection to it. If you're good, you're good. Then we have our SQL query here, and we may want to just put like, select star from media list, or whatever it happens to be. And then we can pass it in arguments if we decide. And then we actually do the connection.execute, passing it the SQL query and any arguments. And this is the heart of it. So we open our connection, we then execute a SQL query, and here's the powerful thing is that once I have that, if that is successful, it brings back, and I now have available what's called a result set, which are the records that came back from the database, and they're put into the result set. And so what I do is I take that, put it into RS, and then I can just go rs.data, and then column name. There you go. So this rs.data says, give me the data in this column on the result set. And you can make actually, let me go ahead and show you how that, I'm going to go ahead and do here. rs.data, image data. Let's just make this up and just go right here. Okay. So what's going on here is that, it's just wrong. Okay, so we have our result set that comes back from our execute, so it'll have those records in it. And then I'm going to do a loop here where we're going to walk through those result sets, because there could be more than one record. It's up to you. It depends on how your application works. But then to refer to anything is rs.data and then the column name. So if I have that blob information in the column called image data, then I get to it with rs.data. Now, the type of data Wonder what kind of data we would store that as a variable. That's what I don't know. Um, just as a C data, or let's see, blob. Okay, here are the different variable types that we have in the system. By the way, just to let you know, if I was a good developer, I would have gone to find open documentation, and then within that, ask for the variable types. That takes you right to the documentation screen there. So I'm going to go ahead into variable types. Okay. And, oh, we do have a blob. Binary data, B. Okay. So therefore, I answer my own question. I would dim my image info as B. And then down here, I would go, my image info is equal to RS data. So the assumption that is that the column in my database image data is of type blob, binary. I've defined my local there as my image info as B, and now I can take it out of the database, out of the result set, and put it into that variable. And now I can do anything I want with that variable because now I have that blob data. Now I don't know what you could do with it, but this is how you in XBasic manipulate binary data that's coming back from a database. You could then insert that into another database. You could probably call an API with it and pass it. I'm not sure what you would do at that point from there.
So let's take this to another level. This person's written in.
Since I've already confused everybody.
No. Since it's not, so your example was using image data, but let's say what you were pulling back wasn't an image. Instead, what you were pulling out of the field was like a big long JSON string.
Okay.
Manipulate that.
Yeah, what I would do is, of course, I would go my JSON as C. So just, it would be a character type field because C can be huge. Yep. And then what I would do is here, I'd say my JSON is equal to RS data JSON, big JSON string. So I just take it out and put it into my JSON. Now, to manipulate that JSON, I usually, and it depends on what that JSON is, this JSON object, there's a great function built into Alpha, which is JSON underscore parse. So what I can do is I can dimension my pointer as P. And what a pointer is a pointer variable. And then what I can do is I can say my pointer is equal to JSON parse my JSON. So what it's going to do is turn that JSON string into a pointer object. So let's say you had a JSON string that said like first name, last name, address, like a contact record, where you had first name equals Joe, last name equals Doe, etc. Well, once I've done that, now it's going to be like my pointer dot first name is so first name is equal to. So now that I've converted that JSON into a pointer, each of the elements in that JSON are then part of the pointer variable, so I can refer to them in this measure. So the neat thing is I don't have to go through and search the JSON string or stuff. It converts it. Now, you have to look at the nature of your JSON data and do an experiment of taking it and converting it and looking at it there. It can even handle, say, like let's say you had phone numbers. So you can actually have in here like phone number 1 is that when you do a JSON parse, it can handle JSON hierarchical data. So you could actually have my pointer, and it depends on how it's structured, but something along the lines of my pointer dot phone dot phone 1. And so therefore, if phone is a series of phone message or phone numbers within that JSON, and I'm not sure if this is exactly right, but you can refer to it as an array element, so you could go through and look at what are the different phone numbers. But the important thing about it is that you can take your JSON data and using the JSON underscore parse, you can then convert my JSON into a pointer variable, and then therefore you can use standard XBasic pointer. You can enumerate through that pointer. You can do all, it's easier to handle than doing a whole bunch of string searches with JSON. And also you can use the JSON templating to actually show that JSON on the screen using what's called client-side templating with JSON that's available. That's a whole other subject there. So I'm not sure if I kind of gave you a pointer on that, but again, you would store it as a C or character since it's text, and when you bring it back, you can just pull it out of it, put it in there, and then maybe convert it into a pointer to be used as a pointer. And that's very powerful because once it's in a pointer, there's a huge amount of XBasic functions and things to manage those pointers. And in fact, I can take that if I want to manipulate it, and I want to say, for instance, I could do something like this. I could go my pointer from is equal to new value. Then I could say my JSON is equal to var to JSON, my pointer. So I can round trip it, meaning I can take my JSON, parse it into a pointer, adjust the values in that pointer, and then convert it back into JSON, and then maybe fire an insert or update, actually it would be an update query to put that data back into the database. And you'll see this a lot when you're using web services, because more and more web services return a JSON piece of text. So you would call that web service, bring that JSON text, convert it into pointer to be able to manipulate it, or just use client-side templating to actually show it on the screen. So I hope that kind of gives you a few pointers on that.
Yep, thank you very much. I'm just going through the questions here.
Yeah,
somebody
good question.
asks about whether or not you can use CSS that's been designed in other programs in your app, in your UX controls.
Yes, you can. The one thing you're going to have to look at, though, yes, absolutely. You can bring in that CSS and attach it to your styles. So let me go back into my UX control right here, and I'll go back into my prompt properties. You can actually link an external CSS file. And once that CSS file is linked to it, you can use that within your system. So let's say I have a button right here, this clear button right here. And right now, we're using the default, let's see here. So you'll see over here is that we have a button here, and on the right we have the button appearance area, and we can associate with that button or any other control a class. And actually I could associate a class, a CSS class for hover, press, disabled, etc. So if I double click and open on that, these are all the different existing classes that are in, and these are all the alpha CSS classes. But if you've associated a other class CSS file, those will show up here also. So you can say, you know what, I want it to look like that. So now, and this is not a good example, but you would be putting the class name from your other CSS, and then we're just going to take that CSS and apply it to the button. And the beauty of that is, and we've talked about with like Bootstrap, is there's some very beautiful CSS class libraries that have already been developed with nice round buttons and things like that. And you can bring that in and apply it within your system without having to modify the CSS or anything. But do realize there's two methods. One is you could bring in your own CSS and start applying classes. The other method is actually you can go into our into the style builder. This is method number 2, and you could find that. So I'm in the style builder. I'm going to click on this heading right here, and I'm going to go to the heading class name right here. Actually, I got here, heading. And you'll notice when I clicked on this little underline right here, it took me to this location right here. So you can see this is my CSS definition for this piece of text right here. So you'll notice the color is 4 light color, the font size is 120. So I could literally edit this right here by saying that's 200%. And you'll notice that as I did it, in real time, it's adjusting my heading right here. So I can use this as a CSS editor. There are third-party CSS editors that are probably better optimized for this, but I can use it to quickly say, oh, I don't like my headings. I want them to be a little bigger. Boom. And conversely, you can copy that CSS information from that other style sheet and kind of apply it in here to say, okay, for instance, and this becomes more important in my grid. Let's look at the grid header right there. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my grid header class name. So this is my class right now that makes that nice looking grid header right there. And so therefore what we can do is you can actually bring the CSS in for how you want that header to look like, or how you want like the search point or whatever, and integrate it. So there's two methods. One is you can just bring in the CSS and start associating it. But with things like grids and stuff, it may be easier to go actually in here and kind of merge that CSS that you have into our style builder here, so you have this kind of great tightly integrated. And the cool thing is once you've done that, when you put a grid down on the screen, it's going to automatically pick up your CSS adjustments, so you don't have to go in there and override anything or do anything. You just put this grid on there and it's going to look up and use your updated, new, and improved CSS when it renders that grid.
Fantastic. So I have two questions. One is from last week, and again, I don't think we have time to cover it. Also, I don't think we're prepared, even though we promised we would. I'm just acknowledging this. That someone did ask about resizing text boxes, based on screen size using JavaScript. And,
wow. Okay.
I remember that one. Let's definitely make sure we cover that one next time. Apologize for that. But we do have another question from that same person, and that was, you were showing off the alpha template, and it looks superb, but you were showing it in working preview as a mobile application. Can this alpha template be used in, mobile web, in other words, desktop types of applications?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, let me go ahead and create what
what does it look like? Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm just going to create a grid here. And let's go here. I'm going to go fast since we're almost out of time.
Sure.
And then we'll go ahead and add it there.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that, I'm compiling before it even edits it. I'm brave. So, as you can see, it's picking up my CSS here. So yes, it works both with desktop, web, and there. And you can use the same technique to apply and change the color schemes and the other things. This would have normally been kind of a light blue kind of color, but I have changed it to my orange kind of color there. So you'll see more on the mobile side, but yeah, you can apply it and use it on both sides, both for grids and also for the mobile side, or grids, desktop, web components, things along those lines.
Fantastic. So in the 60 seconds that we have left,
wow, you're cramming.
I'd like to make a quick, no, I'm just going to make a quick announcement. I'm actually
oh, good. Thank you.
Make it easy for you. Kick back, put your feet up, Dan. And this has to do with SASS, the SAS stuff you were showing us before. In addition to today's webinar, we're actually going to do a blog article with some extensive links to all kinds of resources about SAS. And Sarah Mitchell is putting that together. She said, don't promise it'll be ready today, but it will be ready quite soon. So do take a look for that at the Alpha blog.
Yay, Sarah!
Yay. So I would like to remind everyone that if you do have questions outside or during the week, please send them to guides, GUIDES, at alphasoftware.com. We will handle that one question that we didn't get to about resizing things based on screen size using JavaScript. We will handle that one next week. But seriously, if you get your questions ahead of time, then we have a chance to play around with them and research them, and we give you better answers. Not that Dan isn't good at thinking on his feet, because he is good at thinking on his feet.
Not that good.
The other thing to let you know, today's session was recorded. You can find it at videos.alphasoftware.com. So thank you very much, Dan, for presenting. Thank you, everyone who showed up, listened, and participated and asked questions today. We hope to see you at a future webinar. Take care, and goodbye.